good morning. It's Edna Keep here. Nice to see you all today. Thank you very much for joining. I'm just going to try to lift this up a wee bit. There we go. Okay, awesome. I did get told I have a weak signal here, so we'll see if everything works. But again, thank you very much for joining. If you have any questions, please go ahead and type them in. I do have my glasses on today. I should be able to read them. And I do have a few questions that people have been sending me quite frequently, actually just recently. So I thought I would cover off those first while you're waiting to come up with some of your own. Bring all this closer to me. Oh, right. So Chandel wanted me to mention that as you may know, I have been presenting my free master classes recently with the 5 steps to success in your real estate business. All about using other people's money, of course. Hi, everyone. Good morning. And I thought it'd be a great opportunity to share some of the questions that are coming in while I'm doing those. So some of the questions, and she also reminds me to say, if you missed out on those classes, you can join the replays at www.the5yearplan.ca. And I know a few people have asked, hi Amanda, hi Rob, hi Monty, hi Steve, good morning. Thanks for joining. Okay, so anyway, I will be running live ones upcoming week. I've got Monday the 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern live and Thursday the 22nd at 1 p.m. Eastern live. So if you want to join either of those, watch your email and you'll get notices. If we don't have your email, type it in here and we'll make sure that you get added to the list so that you can see it too. I've got some really good positive feedback from there that a lot of people are learning some really good stuff on it. So just know that. Okay, these things are tough to get the exact right spot. Also thought it'd be a great time to share some of the books that have made a difference for me throughout my life. I know a lot of people ask that again and again, so I'm going to share some of my top picks that I recommend both for real estate and also for personal development. Courtney's asking me, I've been tempted to invest in your program. I'm wondering if everything will be applicable to me being in BC. Absolutely it is, Courtney. There's so much that people don't realize. It's real estate is pretty universal. I even have some U.S. students, and we'll get some feedback from them later on. But I am hearing from the ones that are investing in the U.S. that it's very, very applicable. I teach more on concept and building your power team, because your power team will be in whatever area that you're working in, and they're an important part of your success. So that's one of the things that I work on. So it absolutely will work, even though it's not local. Good morning, Corny. Cheers from Grunthal. Good morning, Tyler. Glad you joined. Okay, so and these books too. Chandel's again reminding me. Oh, I love you, Chandel. You help me out so much here. Sharing wisdom and knowledge as the holiday approaches is a great idea. So if you have a loved one on your list that you haven't found something for, these books are so good. They're so powerful. Some of them are just timeless. They've been around for years and years and years, and I'm still going to recommend them. Some are brand new that I just read recently. The first 15 people that joined live this morning, Chandel set this up yesterday, so I'm hoping that everyone got this. They're going to get entered into a draw to get a signed copy of my book, Multiple Ways to Wealth, Creating Your Prosperous Lifestyle. So we'll be tracking that to know who the first 15 were. So some of the most important books I've ever read that were really, really beneficial One is called Secrets of the Canadian Real Estate Cycle, and that's by Don Campbell, who has been one of my biggest mentors since 2007. I joined the RAIN Real Estate Investment Network out of Alberta back in 2007, and I'm still a member today. I get a ton of knowledge from these guys each and every month. I get mine. I'm a remote member, so I get all mine by CD. You can get it by MP3 or whatever. We try to mimic everything that they're doing because they're so brilliant. The difference between them and us is we really focus on Saskatchewan. They really focus on Alberta. So that's kind of where our sweet spot is. It was the only complaint I ever had about RAIN was they hardly ever talked about Saskatchewan, and they just said it was because it wasn't their market. They weren't in it a lot. So they couldn't share a lot, although they do speak of it once in a while, and in their books that they send over. They send each month when I get my CDs, I get a book that's behind the curtain is what Don calls it, and he puts in newspaper articles that people have written about Saskatchewan. So he might put 2 or 3 at the end. So it's not really focused, but very big proponent of Alberta. So that one's really good, the Canadian Real Estate Cycle. And one of the things that if you do get that book and read it, I'm going to challenge you to think about where we are in the cycle. Because I'm personally thinking now is a good time to be buying. We're at the low or very low. We're kind of bounce along the bottom here for a while. We're not sure how long we'll stay flat, but it's going to turn around within the next probably 18 months. So if you're sitting on the fence about when's a good time to get into real estate, it's not when the market goes back up. It's now. So make sure that you keep that in mind when you're reading through this cycle. I think you'll agree with me, and you'll start to see things in there that it points out that the average Joe doesn't think about. Another one that really made a big difference for me, and we utilized a ton of this, is the Joint Venture Secrets by Don Campbell and Russell Westcott. What a lot of people don't know is that Russell Westcott is actually a Saskatchewan-born boy. He lives in BC now, but he speaks of Saskatchewan a little bit. But Joint Venture Secrets is a very powerful book. It shows you ways to talk to investors and how to find them, and different ways that you can write up your agreements too. And then Robert Kiyosaki's books, the whole series. There's so many of them that have just been awesome. One of the ones that I really like was why do A students work for C students and B students work for the government? And I really like it. I think my favorite reason for liking it is I was always a C student, and it's so true. You know what? C students are not meant that they don't shine in the classroom. They're okay, they pass. It's not that they're not smart enough. That's absolutely a fact. It's just that they're not as interested in all the jargon that they're teaching, and also that it's just not a big deal if they get 80 or 90 or 100%. It's good enough to pass. Good enough, because that's not where their real focus lies. Their focus, in a lot of cases, is growing themselves as a person and getting out into the entrepreneur world, which is really not what the general school teaches your kids. The general school teaches your kids how to be a good employee, and that's not what we want for our kids, is it, people? We don't care. I absolutely don't care. And I tell my kids, even though they're not C students, they're both above that. I absolutely tell them, I'm not that concerned with your marks. I'm concerned with your work ethic and your attitude. Because to me, those are the biggest things out there. If you've got a good attitude and people like being around you, that's so much more important than having A's and B's on your report card. And so far, they're mostly 3s and 4s, so just so you know, that those are good marks. We're very proud, but I do consistently say that's not my biggest focus. You'll never hear me say, oh my gosh, you got a D, that's terrible, you need to get an A, because I don't believe it. I absolutely don't believe it. It just doesn't matter. And yes, you're right, Gregory, it is who they are as a person. And but you know what, when you're hiring employees, A students are the ones you want to work for you. They're brilliant, they're smart, they're great accountants, they're great lawyers, they're great team members. You absolutely need people like that on your team. We need every kind of student out there. Otherwise, the world doesn't work, right? Okay, so a next one, that's one again, like I said, one of my favorites with Rich Dad. But another one is the Cash Flow Quadrant. Very, very powerful book. It talks about how you get out of the rat race and into being self-employed and then eventually an investor, which is what I think we're all working on here. Chandel says, totally, just sit still all day and listen makes me mad. Absolutely. And you know what? The most brilliant people out there, one of the books I'm going to recommend to you is from Dean Graziosi. And you know what? He was told all through school, you're an idiot, you're stupid, you'll never learn, you'll never get anywhere. Well, he's a multi-millionaire through real estate investing. And he wrote a book called, I'm actually just going to flip to that next page so I can mention it to you. Millionaire Success Habits. And like I said, his name is Dean Graziosi. Brilliant real estate investor. And you know, they told him that all through class. Here he has dyslexia. And now one of the things, dyslexia and attention deficit disorder. And one of the things that he pointed out in his book, which I thought was so brilliant, he started working with somebody who worked with people who were attention deficit disorder people. And a lot of people think, well, those people are all over the map, they never get anywhere. But you know what? It's not true. And what Dean said is, why do you think that people have so much success working with you? And he said, because I start working with them on their strengths. So he works with people with attention deficit disorder on their strengths, not their weaknesses, builds up their confidence. And so hearing from a teacher saying you're an idiot and you're stupid and you'll never get anywhere, do you think that builds up their confidence? Absolutely not, right? So if you were one of those that had some of those things told to you when you were young, get that out of your mind. It's not true. You probably learn as good as anyone else. You just have a different style of learning. And Dean said that because he had ADD and dyslexia, he learned different ways to communicate. And if you ever get a chance to listen to him, he's amazing, he's brilliant, and he absolutely wants to help everyone in the world because of all the crap that he dealt with when he was young. He was very, very poor and never wants to go back there. Oh, Gregory says, I was told that in school too. I was told the same thing, and now I run my own business, and I'm ADD as well. And you know what? I had a boss that was ADD, and I actually really enjoyed working with him because he was all about just getting things done. Didn't really matter how. You didn't have to be an A student, and he was okay with you making mistakes because he realized that making mistakes is part of growing. And that was one of the best businesses I ever worked for, and it was Bill Reel with K-Line Maintenance and Construction. That guy was brilliant. I loved working for him. He had a way of making people that worked with him feel like they had a lot to contribute. And if you look at the people that worked under him, and we all know people that did, because I see some of you on here that worked with me way back then, a lot of those people are super, super successful today. And it was because he allowed us to be, he allowed us to grow, and he didn't take all those decisions away from us. Gregory says, here's a great book. It's an Audible book, Science Technology. You mean I'm not lazy, stupid, or crazy? Oh, that sounds good. I'll have to read that. That sounds really, really good, or listen to it. He's got all the numbers on, or the connections on there for you to just get it. So I'm a big believer in that. So anyway, his book, I just read it recently. It's a brand new book. Absolutely excellent. As a matter of fact, that is the book that I bought all my mastermind students this year, and the students that are in the 90 Day to 5K that joined me already, or finished up actually at the end of, actually last Tuesday was their last day. They all got that book because it's awesome. It's so good. It's easy to read. The other thing that Dean says is, and he's written multiple bestsellers. The first editor he took his book to said, you know what, this is like a long conversation. You got to start over. It's not even a book. And you know what, his conversation, or his style, is very conversational. I think that's a great thing because it does feel like he's talking to you. Um, Another book I really liked is I'm not a real religious person. I'm getting more and more spiritual all the time, which is something that I'm learning. But a book that really made a difference for me was The Complete Conversations with God by Neale Donald Walsch. And the reason I like that is it takes out all the judgment that so many religions have. You can't dance, you can't have sex, you can't drink, you can't, all these can'ts. You can't, I don't know, there's just way too many things that you're not supposed to do that are bad, bad, bad. And I think that that's a load of crap, actually. That was one of the things I really got out of that book is he took that judgment away. You know what? He says there's a reason sex feels good, and it's why are people made to feel guilty about that kind of stuff? And normal natural feelings, people are made to feel guilty, especially girls. Talking to a woman who is a 16-year-old single mom, right? And made to feel so guilty about that kind of stuff. And this book takes all that judgment away, and I just highly recommend it. It was a great book. Another one that's really good and I'm a big believer in is getting your habits in order. And I teach that in my 90 Day to 5K course too, because you don't have enough willpower to get everything done. You just don't. And so the book is called The Power of Habit, and it's by Charles, I'm not sure how to say it, but Duhigg, Charles Duhigg. And it's very, very good about what you should do to set up powerful habits. And the more books that I read about this kind of stuff, I know Dean Graziosi touches on it in his book, set up powerful habits. That might be exercising every day, reading an inspirational book every day, sitting in gratitude every day. That's a huge one for me. I always found I'm a hard person, maybe I had a bit of ADD too, but I've never been able to sit very well, to just sit and think and sit. I am a doer and I like to get things done. And so for me to stop and just sit and practice gratitude, and I'm getting really good at it. Sometimes I can sit there for like half an hour and just hold that feeling about how great my life is. Because you know what, when you open up your computer and you start working on the day-to-day stuff, and then there's just shit you got to deal with, right? And so getting in that state of gratitude every morning, and Courtney says waking up early, very powerful. Wake up early and get all this stuff done before anybody else gets up. That's what I like to do. I put my earbuds in, I listen to some of John Assaraf's brain training, and then I just sit with some music going on, and music or sounds or stuff like that, and I really get into the gratitude, and that's been a big thing. So don't ever discount that, and that's a habit that you should add in. Another book, and I read this many, many times over the years because I just didn't quite get this whole Think and Grow Rich stuff. Now I do, but at the time it was like I tried to believe in it. I couldn't figure out how it worked. But Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is a very, very powerful book too. So get that one. And then let me go back to the next page because I didn't finish this one. The next one was actually referred to me by my brother just recently, and it is a very, very, very good book. It's called The Top 10 Distinctions Between Millionaires and the Middle Class, and it's by Keith Cameron Smith. And he said to me after he read that book, he says, Edna, you got to read this book because it's you written all over it. He says, there's no doubt why you're a multimillionaire, because you live those principles, and I can see where so many people are held back by their middle class thinking. And so that one, again, very powerful. I get most of these books on Kindle nowadays because my library is so full. As you can see, look, even above my head, see, there's part of my library. And I just don't even have room in my office anymore. So I love physical books too, though, of course. But Kindle, I'm buying books. Every week I buy a book or two, and they're on my library. They're waiting for when I have time to read them. And every night before I go to bed, I try to read some of this powerful stuff too. So, Chandel said, The Alchemist is another really good book. And I think I might have read that a while ago. I can't remember. But yeah, it's probably a really good book. Another one by a mentor of mine, Ray Higdon. And I'm not sure if this is actually in book form or if it's in, or if I got it from him in a CD and workbook form. But it's called The Power Mind. And it's all about the power of your mind and, you know, really, really training your mind to think, yes, I can do stuff as opposed to what I can't do. And then one more, again, that I just read recently. As most of you know, I was just at a 3-day mindset retreat in Fort Lauderdale. Took about 10 of my team members with me. It was absolutely amazing. And a book that the lady who ran the mindset retreat, her name is Fabienne Fredrickson, and she'd written a book called Embrace Your Magnificence. Well, I bought it on Kindle and I'd finished reading it even before I got home, and it was really, really good too, because she talks about how she spent years building her business, and it wasn't really till she started focusing on mindset and changing her mindset and becoming more spiritual that she really seen massive success. So I do cover mindset training in all my courses too, because I believe that mindset is 90% of your success. And it's funny, but a lot of times you'll tell people that and they'll look at you and they'll say, okay, well, tell me another shortcut to getting rich, or, you know, or what was the best thing, strategy you ever did, or what was and you know what, it really, really is about mindset. So if you guys can embrace that and start studying some mindset stuff, I do believe that that'll make the biggest difference. One of my mentors, Jim Rohn, he's deceased now, but I read a lot of his stuff. I remember when I was first introduced to him, I went online, I bought every program he'd ever made. And his was very mindset oriented. And he always said, if you work harder on yourself than you do on your job, you'll be successful. And he said, you will be wealthy, healthy, and wise. And I think that that's so important, because how many people here know people who are wealthy, but they're sick? You know, they're going to die before they're 70 because they're fat and they drink too much and they eat too much and it's just brutal. But you absolutely have to look after your health. And that's another thing, like I recommend exercise every day. It's so important. I absolutely love that I have a habit of exercising 2-3 days a week minimum. And sometimes it's 4 days a week. And I'm not good at getting myself downstairs and working in my own gym, so I have a personal trainer. And when I make an appointment and I'm paying her, I show up no matter what. And she works me out a lot harder than I would ever work out myself. And just to put a plug, Corleen Schneidel from CoreX Fitness right here in White City is amazing. I have my husband and both my girls getting trained by her right now too, and we absolutely love her. So let me go on to the next thing, because this is where we have some of our questions. So one of the questions from Rebecca was, who are your favorite mindset authors and speakers? Can you recommend any, and who do you like to follow? I think I answered that already. So my new favorite is Fabienne Fredrickson. I've actually joined her Leverage program, and Margie and I just spent 2 days in New York City with her. It was amazing to be around a bunch of like-minded people who are growing their businesses. So she's a favorite. Ray Higdon is another huge favorite. He is primarily network marketing, but he's got a lot of real estate background, and he has a lot of different business people that study with him too. Very big focus on mindset and activity. Action is a big thing. I absolutely love anyway, I love his stuff. I still listen to him a lot. Brian Jones says, take the edge off with a glass of wine and a couple hits of crack. Works every time. That puts you in the right mindset, does it? Well, I do agree with the wine. I don't know about the other, but yeah, I do love my wine. So we're actually having a Christmas party at my house tonight for friends and neighbors, and I just so look forward to these get-togethers. We have a few glasses of wine and we had some good food, and just love hanging around with these people. One of my friends, Marcia, says, I don't know anyone who has more parties than you, Edna. You bring in like so many people. I think we've got like, I don't know, 45 people coming or something. And you know what? A lot of them are kids too, because whenever we have parties like this, we get the kids invite their friends as well as us. So we have a lot of fun with adults and kids. So anyway, oh, Courtney says she loves Gary Vaynerchuk. Yeah, Gary Vaynerchuk's another really good one. Grant Cardone is excellent. I couldn't finish his 10 times book because he works way too friggin' hard. I don't think I could ever work that hard, but good one. It was interesting, but 10 times he's very driven, very, very hard driven, and I'm a little easier on myself than that. Anyway, Carrie says, do you ever personally struggle with balancing family deals, investments, and coaching? Any tips for busy moms who want to be investors and trying to keep up with it all? You know what? I'm very, very fortunate when it comes to that. I used to struggle with it a lot more because I did have to do it by myself. I was a single mom, and I was raising my daughter by myself. And you know, I still did it. I took classes, I took correspondence courses, anything that I could do and study from home, because I really couldn't go to university classes and stuff like that. It just wasn't conducive. So I read a lot of books and took a lot of self-study courses. It worked really good for me. And nowadays, you know what, it's a lot more open, because you can't. I'm just going to see if this light's behind me and it's kind of bright. One of the things that I really like nowadays is there's so much stuff you can take by webinar. And you know, like even my program, my 90 Days to 5K, it's 12 weeks, about an hour a day, and it's recorded. So if you can't make it live, say the kids are bugging you and you can't make it live, then turn it on after they go to sleep. And I think that that's so powerful, because it's just almost like live. Like, she recorded it like 2 hours ago. It's right there. There's nothing old about this. It's all new. This is all great content. So webinars are a great way to learn. Master classes, for those that don't have money to invest in themselves yet, spend as much time as you can on the free stuff. Like, there's a ton of really good information in there, and just start doing some of the actions that I tell you about, and that other people tell you about. Read the books, and you know, turn the TV off. That's a big one. One of the things that Dean Graziosi suggests is turn your TV off, especially for the news. He calls it taking a news diet. So the first, I just did a 30-day challenge. Actually, I'm still in the middle of it, called The Better Life. I think it's at thebetterlife.com. Anyway, it's a challenge to take your business up a notch by doing something daily. And one of the daily things is turn off the news. Don't listen to the news all day. And then a little further on in the course is turn it off for a week. And don't listen to the news for a week or even longer. Well, you know what? We really have not watched the news now for years and years. And Greg, you're totally right. News is garbage in. It's stressful to listen to that. And you know what? It absolutely does you no good. I hear a little bit of news on Facebook just because people talk about it, but I've never turned the news on for years. Every once in a while, my father-in-law's over and he likes to watch the news, and sometimes I'm sitting at the kitchen table and just start looking at it, not even realizing what I'm doing. But no, we don't listen to the news. I learned that probably 20 years ago. And people say, well, don't you think you'll miss out on current events? No, I don't want my current events from news reporters. They're out to make everything look terrible and bad. And the reason is because that's what people buy. That's what they want to hear. It's unfortunate, but 90% of the population want to hear the crap. So I say, let them live there. I don't want to live there. Okay, so any other tips? Just do what you can. You can't do everything, especially when the kids are really little. I know when our girls were really little, they're 14 and 12 now. When we started, when they were 3 and 5, we would take them with us looking at properties. And they used to look at some of these houses and just be totally disgusted by them, and because they thought maybe we were going to live there. And I said, oh, no, we're not going to live there, and because they're used to our pretty nice house, and they didn't like that. They liked looking at the show homes that we used to look at when we were building our houses. They didn't mind that, but they didn't like looking at the old houses. But one thing that they did learn was how to tell the difference between a small deal and a big deal. Because when we started, we of course started on small deals too, and we taught them how to play cash flow. And one of the things that they that they learned in the game was the difference between a small deal and a big deal. And one time we were sitting in front of it was, I think, the first fourplex we'd ever looked at. And Warren was inside looking, and I was sitting in the truck because the girls were in their car seats, and it was winter time, so I just stayed out, and so I pointed out that this was a big deal. I said, look, there's 4 doors on this one, and there's all these windows. That's a lot different than the houses we usually look at. So that was kind of funny. So they did know the difference. So yeah, you know what? Just do what you can and get started, because you know what? You can start today. And you know what? Maybe you're a little slower than some. I know I had a mom who started with my 90 Day to 5K course in September, and she got, I think, 3 modules in and wasn't able to finish it because just so much going on with her life and her kids, but I just talked to her yesterday, and she's gonna get back on the horse in January. So you know what, once you're in the 90 Day to 5K program, it's a lifetime access. So if you can't do all 12 modules in a row, do 1 module a month or something like that. Just something to keep you moving forward. Courtney says Dr. Wayne Dyer is a great motivational speaker. Yes, and he's got some wonderful books too. Courtney says kids are the cutest when viewing houses. Yeah, they come up with some pretty unique things to say, don't they? What else do I got here? Oh, and Audrey says have schedules. Yeah, schedule everything. That is really, really important too. Jill says this is one of the struggles Drew and I are trying to figure out. Balancing all the things is so hard. Yes, Jill, I can see that, and especially with all that you guys have going on right now. Like, you've got such busy lives. But you know, like I said, just do what you can. And so if it takes you 2 years instead of 1 year to finish off what you want to do, you're still further ahead than 90% of the people out there, because you're moving ahead. And I see you guys moving ahead every single day. So know that things can still get done. And one of the things I heard way back when, I can't remember, but it said, if you want to get things done, give it to the busiest person you know, because those people know how to get things done. So practice that, talk to people who get things done and see how they manage it. So good questions, and there's 100 different ways. Some of it's just getting into the habit of doing stuff, turning that TV off, reading the book. Courtney says, do your girls have plans to purchase when they're old enough? You know what? That's a good question. No, they don't. They think we work too much. They think that they don't think that way yet. They think about dancing and how that's the kind of stuff that they might like to do in the future. And I always tell them, you know what, if you want to be a dancer or hair cutter, that was one of the things I used to say, hairdresser or hair cutter, you got to own real estate so you can afford to do that stuff. So I said, you got to learn that. But you know what, our girls have choices. I'm not pushing them into anything yet. We've got a lot of houses we can pass over to them at any point in time. So they'll definitely get drawn into it at one time or another. My oldest daughter's in the business, so she gets it. So we just have to train them. They're not quite old enough yet. Chandel says, I find that I need to tackle stuff right away, and if I put it off, it doesn't happen. And she's a perfect example. Her little ones are, I think, 2 and 5, 3 and 5, something like that. And she gets a lot done. So yeah, you absolutely just got to tackle it and get it done. You have to make it a habit. And sometimes you have to close your office door. If you work from home like I do, sometimes I just put a big old sign on there and go, leave me alone. I'm doing a webinar. And, sometimes that's just what you have to do. Question from Kevin. Have you ever had students who start out with tarnished credit and not very much cash to invest? What's your best advice for someone like that? Good question, Kevin. You know what? I have a lot of students that come to me with no money. They wanna that's my specialty. I teach people how to buy real estate with none of their own money. One of the keys, and this is something that a lot of people don't get, is you don't just get to use other people's money. You get to provide a very, very, very good service to these investors who don't have time to be looking for real estate themselves. You can open a lot of doors for other people by being the expert and letting them just invest their money with you. Sometimes you're going to get questions on, well, why would I fund the whole deal and you get it for free? Well, you know what? There are people who think their money is worth more than your time. Let me ask you, everybody who's got challenges out there, isn't time a huge factor in your lives? What would you pay to get some of that time back? I know a lot of people would pay a lot of money. That's one thing that I continually spend my money on, is freeing up my time. So I was not able to scale my business the way I wanted to until I started bringing in team members. So that was my point before when I was saying I'm very fortunate. I've had a housekeeper for over 20 years. I've never liked housekeeping, and unfortunately, my kids are very much like me, and they don't like housekeeping. So I've had a housekeeper all along. At different times, I've had cooks cook for me. At different times, I've had, I don't have employees. Most of my people that work for me are contract employees. And again, I like it that way because I don't want to be 100% responsible for their lives. I like to work with people who are independent business people who are getting things done, because while they're out learning, it can apply to my business as well. So I really like working with contract people. And outsource, yeah, like Chandel says, outsource stuff. I've grown a ton in the last year because I've got a marketing team on board. They take so much stuff off my table, it's unbelievable. And then I get to do what I do best, which is help people invest their money in real estate. And now I teach people to do that. So that's really where my best value lies. And if all the other stuff's off the table, for example, I'm hosting a huge party tonight. I'm getting it catered because my best time is not spent cooking or cleaning. So my housekeeper was here yesterday. She cleaned everything. Today the caterer shows up at 6 o'clock. I love that I can do that kind of stuff. It's so powerful. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be sitting here talking to you today. I would be cooking, and cooking's not my specialty. I'm an average cook at best. Don't mind cooking for my family, but if I can outsource stuff like that, I do as much as I possibly can. So back to tarnished credit. Yes, lots of times, because you can buy buildings based on your investor's credit as well. So don't worry about your tarnished credit. It's something you can build up over time. And all I recommend is, if you do have tarnished credit and you're talking to a possible investor, you tell them about it. Tell them what you did, whether it was just being young and stupid, whether it was taking a chance on a business. That's one thing that business people understand. I know business people who've went bankrupt. And you know what? The one thing they don't do is sit back and feel sorry for themselves and say, I'll never do that again. They just keep going and going and going and going. Another book, I can't remember the name of it, as I don't have it in front of me, but this book really made a huge difference for me. We spent a week on Richard Branson's island back in, what year was that? I can't remember. It was after 2009. I think that was the year we did. So I thought, well, you know what? I might get a chance to meet him. And so I read a few of his books. And one of the things that I noticed with Richard Branson is many times he was right to the wire when it came to money. If he didn't come up with some money, he was going to lose everything. And you know what? He got out there and did it. And he grew and he grew. And now he's a billionaire today, and one that just about everybody in the world absolutely respects and loves. So he's a huge mentor of mine, even though he doesn't know it. And he took risks like nobody's business. And you know what? He just kept pushing forward. So if you ever get a chance to read a couple of his books, They were so powerful to me because sometimes I would push ahead, feel like I got overwhelmed or taking too much risk, and I'd pull back. And now I just go and I realize that, you know what, if it's meant to be, it's going to happen. And the worst thing I can do is pull back on anything that I'm trying to accomplish. So I hope that you take the time to read that one. What would mutual fund fees typically be on a $100,000 investment? You know what, 2.5% to 3.5% if you're in regular mutual funds. It can go higher if it's more active management. So yeah, it's a lot of money, and you know they take that whether you're in the negative or not. So if your funds did -6 last year, or if it says on your statement that it's -8.5. It was really -6, but they got paid anyway, regardless. So that's something to know. Oh, and Gregory puts on here, for anybody who's got credit challenges, he helps people improve their credit, and go to www.ccdr.ca. And you know what? I had damaged credit in the past. I was one of those people who always liked to live beyond her means. I can tell you for years and years, my family used to tell me, Edna, you have to learn to live within your means. And you know what? I wasn't satisfied with that answer. I said, to hell with that noise. I'm going to learn how to make money. And that's what I focus on, is learning how to make money. And I want to increase my means. I think it's bullshit that people are told again and again that you got to learn to live within your means. Another reason why I like Robert Kiyosaki, because he says too, people don't need to learn to live within their means. They need to learn how to increase their means. That's one of the things in that book, the difference between millionaires and the middle class. It's just a different way you think. I wanted for years and years just to increase my means. I didn't ever want to learn to live within my means. So that's just a different way of thinking. So hope you enjoy that. Corny says he can't wait for our mindset retreat in 2017. Yes, this is very, very important. We've done a 3-day event. Now this is our 3rd year. So mark on your calendars, March 27th, 28th, and 29th. We are doing a mindset retreat. Now it's a mindset retreat wrapped around real estate. But for people who need some help with mindset, and a lot of people don't like to think they need help with mindset. Who likes to be told they need an attitude adjustment, right? But we're going to cover off a lot of stuff about mindset because, like I said, I do believe it's 90% of a person's success. So we're going to cover off a lot of mindset that particular weekend, and a lot of real estate stuff too. We got a really good lineup. I don't have everybody booked for speaking, but I have a few people that have confirmed. One's Barry McGuire, who's a lawyer from Alberta, part of the RAIN group. He speaks on their stage all the time. He talks a lot about challenges that he's seen different clients go through. And so I really like that part of his training because it teaches you. And then he's going to come to Saskatchewan and he's going to do a workshop a couple weeks later. I think April 8th we decided. And that's all about agreements for sale, which is a very, very powerful way to be buying real estate with none of your own money. So get out there, meet him, and then definitely try to make it out to his workshop. It's very, very powerful stuff. I've been wanting to take that training for a long time, even though we've actually done several agreements for sale. He goes into it much deeper than I've ever done myself, like how to do single family homes. We've basically done apartment buildings for agreements for sale. And so I'm really looking forward to taking his class myself. And that was one of the reasons I invited him out. I have a couple mindset trainers coming on board to speak. One is Mark France. Again, he's wrapped around real estate as well. And Shauna Golan, who is one of my mastermind students last year, has gone out and got her coaching degree. And she spoke to us a couple weeks ago at the Profit in the Prairies event. And it was very, very good. And again, it was wrapped around real estate. So we will we'll have some good trainers. Shelley Hagan's going to be here again. Marcin Rhodes is going to be here again, and I do believe, if I read correctly, I got a text just from Marge a few minutes ago that Paul Martin's going to be here again. And Paul Martin is a huge advocate for Saskatchewan. Absolutely brilliant guy, such an easy speaker to listen to, and this is third year running that we've had him.